Let me tell you a story about Amara, a teenager that was married up to a man old enough to be her grandfather and other to save her poor father from the huge department that he was drowning in. The title of this amazing story is The Price of Obedience. The air hung heavy with the scent of jasmine and unspoken dread. Amara, barely 16 summers old, stood before the ornate mirror, her reflection a stark contrast to the vibrant hues of her wedding sari. Her eyes, usually sparkling with mischief, were dull, mirroring the forced smile on her lips. Today, she was not a girl, but a possession, a prized possession bartered for her father's debts. The groom, Vikram, a man twice her age, his face etched with the lines of a life lived, awaited her in the opulent hall. He was a man of wealth and influence, a man her father, desperate and drowning in debt, had willingly sacrificed his daughter to. Amara, however, had never even glanced at him, her gaze always averted, her heart a caged bird yearning for freedom. The music began, a haunting melody that seemed to mock her despair. Slowly, she moved towards the hall, each step a heavy burden. The eyes of the guests, filled with curiosity and judgment, bore into her, stripping her of any remaining dignity. Vikram, seated on a throne-like chair, regarded her with a predatory gleam in his eyes. Amara's throat tightened. This was not a celebration of love, but a funeral for her dreams, her aspirations, her very soul. As she approached him, she felt a tremor run through her, a silent scream against the injustice of it all. The ceremony was a blur, a whirlwind of rituals and blessings she barely registered. The knot tied around her wrist, a symbol of her bondage, felt like a noose tightening around her neck. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them back fiercely. Weakness would only invite further contempt. That night, in the opulent chambers assigned to them, Amara lay awake, the silken sheets of foreign comfort against her skin. Vikram, his eyes gleaming in the moonlight, moved towards her. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through her. She tried to shrink away, but he was too strong, too determined. A sob escaped her lips, a sound lost in the vast emptiness of the room. This was the price of obedience, she realized with a bitter pang. The price of her father's survival was her own happiness, her own freedom. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Amara learned to endure. She learned to mask her pain with a forced smile, to navigate the treacherous waters of her new life with a calculated grace. She learned to be invisible, to exist as a shadow in her own gilded cage. But within her, a flicker of defiance remained. She would not succumb entirely. She would find a way, however small, to assert her own will, to carve out a sliver of her own life within the confines of her gilded prison. One day, while exploring the vast estate, she stumbled upon a hidden garden, a sanctuary of vibrant blooms and whispering trees. It became her refuge, a place where she could shed her carefully constructed facade and let her true self breathe. There, amidst the fragrant blossoms, she began to weave a plan, a daring escape from the gilded cage of her forced marriage. The price of obedience is just the beginning of Amara's story. Will she find the courage to break free? Will she find love and happiness amidst the shadows of her past? The story continues. I hope you enjoyed this glimpse into Amara's world. Watch out for part 2.